for you. In this example, you're going to start in the first line by composing a melody using only what we call chord tones. The chord tones can be found in the chord below in the piano part. If you're having trouble deciding what the notes are between the bass clef and treble clef, there's an annotation that goes with each measure, so that if you click on the annotation, you can see the three notes. So in this first measure, I want to use the three notes G, B flat, and D. You want to use only quarter notes or half notes, nothing smaller than a quarter note. Now, I'm going to start by clicking on the score and entering the first note G, and then B, I'll go back to G, and then maybe a D. So now, as I move to the next measure, I want to use the notes in this chord. Again, you can click on the annotation if you need to see. The notes are B flat, D, and F. So I might choose this note and maybe change that to a half note, and then I'll put a D in as a quarter note, and then an F. The third measure, the notes are E flat, G, and B flat. So I'll come, maybe start with an E flat, and on the B flat, if I decide I want to play a low B flat instead of a high B flat, I can shift the octave by holding the command key on my keyboard and pressing the down arrow. And then I'll next go to E. In the fourth measure, the notes are F, A, and C. So maybe here, I'll go with a half note F, and then maybe a C quarter note, and then I think I'll hold my command key, press the up arrow to shift that to a high A, which brings me to the last measure, where my notes are G, B flat, and D. So I think what I'll do here is maybe put a B flat half note and then end on a G half note. So once you've composed the melody, then you can go back and listen to see what it sounds like. Cool. Now, if you're pleased with that, then take some time, pick up your instrument, and practice playing along with the melody that you've just composed. After you've spent some time learning the first part of the melody, we're now going to move to a second phrase. And in the second phrase, we're going to introduce what we call non-chord tones, or notes that are not in the chord. So the first step is to click and highlight. Let's go back to our edit button. I'm going to highlight this first measure, and then I'm going to hold my shift button on my keyboard and click in the fifth measure, and then I'm going to use command C to copy these 5 measures, and then I'm going to click on the first measure in the second line and use command V as in victory to copy the melody on the second line. Now, to use non-chord tones, I'm going to introduce notes in between the notes of the melody that I created earlier. For example, I can click on this B flat, turn it into an 8th note, and then maybe put an A, which you see kind of connects the gap between the B flat and the G. Now I'm going to jump over here to my D. I'm going to add a C that leads us into that B flat. So here, I think I'll change that to a quarter note, add a C, and then to an eighth note. But maybe instead of just filling in the gap, I might try to jump up here to this note G, and then moving into the next measure, I might switch up my rhythmic pattern a bit. And again here, since I can't cover that gap in a single step, then I'll actually jump up, again holding my command up arrow to shift the octave, and then maybe switch this to a quarter note. I'll stick a D in there, and then maybe here let's put a little G, change this to a quarter note, and add an A. So now I've elaborated on this melody by introducing what we call non-chord tones, which would sound like this. And if you're happy with what you've created, take some time to practice the second line of the melody. Once you've practiced your entire composition all the way through, then you can go and record yourself performing the entire composition. So this was my example, and I would encourage you to use your own imagination and try different combinations of notes, maybe than what I tried, so that you have something that's unique. Once you finish, maybe share your composition with a friend and invite your friend to maybe record your composition, and maybe that you can record your composition. Once you've made your recordings and completed your compositions, you're going to return your work to your teacher according to your classroom procedures for feedback and assessment. Hope you have fun creating and composing using chord tones.